In a world where humans are forced to live in underground villages and are forbidden to go to the surface of the earth, a boy named Simon lives. Simon is a digger who lives in Giha, one of the underground villages. His job is to excavate, to get treasures, and continue expanding Giha. One day, Simon finds a small drill-shaped relic while he's working. Simon thinks it's quite pretty and decides to show it to his friend Kamina. However, Kamina only wants to go to the surface to meet his father and doesn't pay much attention to Simon. Kamina proposes the idea of using Simon's drill to get out of the village, and Simon accepts. But before they carry out the plan, they're stopped by Shaq, the village chief. The chief imprisons Kamina, but frees Simon for his great work as an excavator. While Kamina is in prison, Simon goes to work and bumps into a buried robot. Again, Simon wants to show what he found to his friend and goes in search of Kamina. However, at that moment, the roof of the village breaks, and a giant mecha monster known as Gunmen falls from the surface. And Kamina, being a reckless fool, decides to confront Gunmen. Just as it's about to kill Kamina, Yoko, a stunning fighter girl with an electromagnetic rifle for her weapon, descends from the surface just in time to save him. After running away, Simon tells Kamina to use the robot he found to confront the monster and defeat it. The trio finally goes to the surface, only to find more gigantic Gunmen waiting for them. Once on the surface, the three of them are attacked by two other monsters that Yoko was hunting earlier. Yoko comes from Littner, another underground village, and is part of the resistance against these monsters. Despite Kamina wanting to stay and fight, Simon takes him away in his robot, whom Kamina named Lagann. Simon also takes Yoko while she tries to shoot the monsters to stop them. Unfortunately for the group, Yoko runs out of ammo and Lagann runs out of energy while they escape. However, when they're about to be annihilated, Yoko's allies show up to save them. Simon and Kamina realize that the monsters are nothing more than the robots like Lagann, piloted by creatures called the Beastmen. However, they only attack during the day, and the ones chasing them withdraw because it's getting dark. Once they're safe, the trio goes to Yoko's village, where they meet Liron, the mechanic for the resistance. During the day, the Beastmen attack again, so Kamina, Yoko, and the other resistance members go out to fight. For his part, Simon feels scared, and Lagann isn't turning on to help. At that moment, a new monster appears outside the village and falls, creating an earthquake-like crash. The smash makes Simon remember how his parents died buried in an earthquake and decides to go out and fight. Simon finds out that Lagann works and gains more power with his emotions. Since Kamina is a fool, he decides to steal a Gunmen robot with the help of Simon. Although Kamina cannot use it at first, he manages and names it Gurren, defeating the other Gunmen who attacked the village. The next day, Yoko, Kamina, and Simon decide to hunt for food. When Kamina kills a small animal, he meets Viral, a beastman who is looking for the other humans who stole the Gunmen. Both argue for a while until Yoko finds them, and Viral jumps on his Gunmen. Both boys started defending, but they were still too inexperienced to fight. Thanks to their lack of experience, Viral easily defeats them but doesn't hurt them, although he tells them that he'll be back the next morning. The next day, Viral shows up to the entrance to the village, so Kamina and Simon go on the attack. This time, Kamina has the idea of uniting both Gunmen to obtain more power. Kamina and Simon team up and their bond creates Gurren Lagann, a more powerful mecha. With this new power, they defeat Viral, who manages to escape. Kamina and Simon decide to go to the enemy base to finish off the Beastmen once and for all, and Liron and Yoko join their mission. On their way to the Beastmen's base, Kamina and Simon spend the afternoon training their new binding technique. After a while, Kamina gets hungry and tired, so he suggests they return to camp. But they're suddenly attacked by some mysterious characters. They were humans who thought Simon was under an enemy attack. The four siblings, Kitan, Kyo, Kial, and Kinon, from the Black Siblings, a group whose aim is to help humans attacked by Gunmen. They attacked Kamina but quickly realized that he's not the enemy. They all go back to the camp with Liron and Yoko. Since they were hungry, the girls went looking for food and found some fuzzy pink balls that looked edible. When they're ready to eat, they realize that the balls are Beastmen who are watching them. Kamina is disappointed that he wasn't able to eat them, but changes into battle anyway. These little monsters had powerful sixth-phase Gunmen, and Simon and Kamina needed to use Gurren Lagann to defeat them. Despite having difficulties joining at first, they learn how to work together and defeat the enemy. One day, while the heroes are traveling, they fall into Adai, one of the underground villages in the region. In this village, the Gunmen are worshipped as gods since there's a very ancient one buried there known as the Face of God. When Kamina and Simon get out of their Gunmen, they're considered angels by everyone in Adai. In the village, they meet Rosyu, a little boy destined to be the next village leader. Rosyu and Magan, the village priest, welcome the group, although they tell them they cannot stay. It turns out that only 50 people can live in Adai since food is very scarce. In Adai, there was a vote to sacrifice someone every time they exceeded their maximum population. This time was the turn of Gimme and Dari, 2 orphan twins, as there was a birth of triplets in the village. Kamina, annoyed with the priest, even offered to fight for the children, but an enemy Gunmen suddenly arrived in the village looking for Simon and Kamina. Both start to attack Gurren Lagann, and the priest gets on Gunmen to defeat the enemy. Rocio learns the truth about their supposed god and decides to leave Adai with Gimme, Dari, and the group of heroes. As our heroes continue to travel in search of the Beastmen's base, they come across an old Koko, a mysterious man. He takes them to a small inn where the heroes can rest, eat, and enjoy a delicious bath in hot springs. When they arrive, they are welcomed by a hostess, and they find many voluptuous women in the place, which pleases Kamina. Rosui is suspicious of the whole deal, but the others don't pay attention to him and get ready to enjoy themselves. The group reunites with the Black Siblings team, and they decide to enjoy a bath in the hot springs together. While they're taking a bath, Kamina and Simon go to great lengths to spy on the girls. When Kamina was about to see them, the place began to transform into a gigantic Gunmen. It turns out the owner of the place was a demi-human, who also wanted to eliminate humans. Kamina is very upset about not being able to see girls and sets out to beat the crap out of the hostess. But the demi-human had kidnapped the girls to set a trap for Kamina, who left Gurren so he could see them naked. In the end, once they beat the hostess, Yoko jumps up and down in delight, causing her bra to fall off, leaving Simon and Kamina both speechless. After the group defeats the last enemy, Viral appears to challenge them to another fight. The match is pretty even until another gigantic Gunmen appears. The Gunmen is one of the weapons of the capital where the Spiral King leader of the Beastmen resides. One of the 4 capital generals, the feared Timid, pilots the Gunmen. When he arrives, he attacks Gurren Lagann, but Kamina launches with everything to keep fighting Viral, who's on top of the giant Gunmen's platform. Timid sends small Gunmen to the area where Yoko and the others are while he attacks Gurren Lagann to tear him apart. Just as the group is about to be wiped out by these little Gunmen, other mysterious robots come to the rescue. Among these were Kitan and Dayaka, one of Yoko Village's chiefs, who, influenced by Kamina, also managed to operate Gunmen's. Meanwhile, on the platform, Gurren Lagann is in trouble. However, thanks to Dayaka's intervention, he manages to save himself from being destroyed. To get rid of Timid, Simon devises a strategy to bury it underground to buy some time. The plan goes perfectly, and the boys manage to escape to strategize for the next day. At night, the heroes prepare their plan to destroy Timid and take control of his base. They need a lot of help, and to their luck, many could already control a Gunmen. Before the battle, Kamina and Yoko share a romantic kiss, but Simon, who has feelings for Yoko, sees them. After seeing the kiss, Simon is unfocused during the day leading up to the big battle. The plan was to distract the army so Simon could link up with the fortress and take control. The warriors attack the fortress to create a distraction. Once everything goes as planned, Simon manages to unite with Gunmen, but incompletely thanks to his emotions. Kamina goes to encourage his friend, and when Simon sees the support he has, he gains control of the army. However, Kamina is attacked by Viral and Timid together, who manage to severely injure him. Simon loses control when he believes his friend is dead, but before falling, Kamina makes one last Gurren Lagann attack with Simon, and they defeat Timid once and for all. Unfortunately, at the end of the battle, Kamina didn't survive. In the Spiral King's base, the other generals and the Spiral King himself learned of Timid's death. The Spiral King decides to send Ariane, another of the 4 supreme generals, to finish off the humans. Meanwhile, the heroes were devastated by the loss of Kamina, especially Simon. He was the most affected, reaching the point of wanting to pirate Gurren Lagann alone just because he didn't want anyone other than Kamina with him. At that moment, the new base of heroes gets attacked by some Gunmen, and Simon and Rasuo pilot Gurren Lagann. However, since Simon was emotionally unwell, Lagann overheated and falls off a cliff. Luckily, Simon was uninjured, and Lagann was still functional. When Simon climbed back up, he comes across a box where he finds a girl, Nia, who seems lost in the outside world. They both walk out of the cliff, and Simon takes Nia to the base. At that moment, Adiane appears and threatens to attack the heroes. However, she doesn't because of Nia, who happens to be the daughter of the Spiral King, who won't let her. After Adiane attempts to attack, she decides to retreat to later find out that Spiral King has disowned her daughter, and that she must attack the humans. Since Nia is technically part of the enemy, Kitan decides to interrogate her, but the results aren't helpful because Nia seems ignorant of the outside world matters. Simon and Nia have a little conversation where he shows her bad things her father's done, They also talk about Kamina, and she even encourages him to stop lamenting what happened and to start believing in himself more. But before they can spend more time together, Ariane appears again to attack. Even though Nia shows up in front of her to talk, Ariane doesn't care and attacks Nia. At that moment, everyone rushes to save Nia by attacking Ariane. During the fight, she seems superior to the boys, but Liron manages to help the giant Gunmen work again, and they face her. However, before they can deliver the final blow, Viral appears to save Ariane and flee. As the Spiral King finds out that Ariane failed, he decides to send Gunmen, another of his supreme generals. At the hero's base, Simon, who is still depressed over Kamina's death to the point where Lagann no longer responds to him and he wouldn't let him use him. Meanwhile, a transmission in the control room informs the heroes a town is under attack. Since the village is full of beautiful women, Kitan orders them to go there as fast as possible. Upon arrival, the group realizes it's a trap by Gunmen to catch them and take them back to Time Elf space. All of the heroes are imprisoned and locked in an underground room. Meanwhile, Nia is taken hostage by Gunmen. In the underground cell, everyone begins to dig to get out, although none of them manages to do so. But after remembering Kamina's words, Simon gathers the strength to keep digging. Lagann appeared when he felt Simon and regained his spirit. With Lagann, Simon and the others manage to escape their prison and go to save Nia. The situation gets complicated, and Gunmen uses Gunmen to finish the group. However, Rosie appears in Gurren with Simon joining him to form Gurren Lagann again and defeat Gunmen, who survives and retreats to the capital. Since the heroes already know the exact location of the capital, they head towards the Spiral King's base. The group hits a roadblock in their journey as they run into the sea, and their ship isn't up for sailing. However, Liron already had the modifications planned to be able to navigate. While Liron works on the mods, the heroes enjoy the beach. Once Liron is done with the base, the group embarks on the high seas to reach the capital, although to their bad luck, Ariane, an expert in water combat, returns to attack. And she's not alone, but Viral is there too. Ariane boards her Gunmen to attack Gurren Lagann, with whom she has an underwater battle. Meanwhile, Viral tries to sink the base with Ariane's submarine, although he fails when Simon stops him. Once they surface, the heroes blast their cannons at Ariane to finish her. Viral tries to save her, but Simon attacks him and destroys the submarine. Thanks to the cannon attack, the boys manage to finish off Ariane and head to the capital safe and sound. After beating Ariane, the heroes continue their trip to the capital when Cytomander, another supreme general of the Spiral King, is going to attack them. Cytomander sends his air army to bombard the Dai Gurren base. As the Dai Gurren is about to be destroyed, Liron chooses to launch Gurren Lagann in the air to face an aerial fight. Once in the air, Simon and Yoko are attacked by Cytomander flying Gunmen. However, they defeat them, and Simon uses one so Gurren Lagann can fly. With his new modification, Simon goes against Cytomander, but Viral appears to stop him. During the fight, Yoko tries to attack Viral with her rifle, and she falls in the direction of Cytomander's air fortress. Simon manages to save her and gets into the air fortress. Once inside, Simon and Viral have a fight that stops when Cytomander arrives in his Gunmen. The general takes Yoko hostage and tells Simon to give up. He also tells Viral to end Simon, although his pride doesn't allow him. Meanwhile, on the land, Liron uses the Dai Gurren to maximum power to jump to the air fortress and knock it down. After the attack, the heroes manage to defeat Cytomander and save Yoko. In addition, the Dai Gurren manages to capture the flying sources of the air fortress. After the battle against Cytomander, the heroes are close to the capital. Liron and his team make the necessary modifications so that Dai Gurren can fly with the flying source on the air fortress. When the base can finally fly, Cytomander appears again to continue attacking, although the heroes have an advantage since the Gurren Brigade Gunmen could fly. The battle begins and the heroes are in trouble as Gunmen appears on the ground to attack the Dai Gurren and the pilots. Simon decides to fight alone in the air and let the others defend the Dai Gurren. Once everyone is in position, Simon goes after Cytomander's minions. After a slip, Simon is caught and is about to die at the hands of the enemy. However, a group of humans influenced by Kamina's spirit help Simon, who eliminates Cytomander once and for all. Despite the victory against Cytomander, Gunmen is still alive. He uses his Gunmen with the capital base to create a giant whirlwind and finish off the heroes. Simon makes a strategy that manages to defeat Gunmen and stop the whirlwind. At the end of the battle, the capital shows up as a giant Gunmen ready to attack the heroes. When the capital shows its final form, Simon attacks and tries to pierce the structure with his drill, but fails. However, before falling, he discovers that the Spiral King controls the Gunmen. Back in Dai Gurren, Nia tells Simon to take her to see her father to talk to him. Simon accepts and uses all of the power of Dai Gurren to cross the defenses of the Spiral King. Nia tries to talk with her father, but he doesn't care and decides to send Viral to end Simon. But after a rapid struggle, Simon beats Viral, and the Spiral King decides to do it himself. The Spiral King gets into his Gunmen, with the same energy as Gurren Lagann, and the final battle begins. After Gurren Lagann tries to snatch the control of the King Gunmen, he gets out and hits Lagann to remove it. The Spiral King and Lagann begin to fight, with the advantage on the King's side, who manages to beat Simon. When he goes to give Simon the final blow, the hero uses the drill key with spiral power to win the fight. Before the King dies, he tells Simon he's not the real threat. When the human population reaches 1 million inhabitants, the moon will be the omen of his death. 7 years pass after the defeat of the Spiral King. Humanity left the caves and created a futuristic city called Kamina City. Now, Simon is the supreme commander of this new society. Rocio is his advisor, and the other members of the Gurren Brigade are now members of the new government. Viral appears again, but he gets defeated by the new defense corps of the city. However, Viral was trying to protect people who wanted to return underground since they forced them to live on the surface. Simon tells this to Rocio, who was the one who had ordered the whole deal. Rocio tells him he did it to determine how many humans were on the planet and thus get ahead of the Spiral King's prophecy. On the other hand, Kyo was about to give birth with Nia and Dayaka, the father, in the room. When Kyo gives birth, the human counter reaches 1 million, and a robot descends from the skies to attack Kamina City. Although the special forces try to defend the city, they cannot overpower it. However, Simon beats the robot with a blow, although after its defeat, it throws some particles that explode, destroying the city. Nia, possessed by the beings from another universe, disappears from the hospital and sends an announcement telling them that they're doomed to die. Simon searches all over Kamina City for Nia, though he doesn't find her. On the other hand, Rocio awakens the head of the Spiral King so that he can tell them about the plan of his beings. As Simon gives up looking for Nia, she appears to tell him who these beings are. These are the anti-Spiral, who need to end the human race so they don't rebel against them. The Spiral King tells the same to Rocio and explains that he kept the humans underground for the same reason. The message Nia gives to Simon is heard throughout Kamina City, causing the entire city to alarm and rebel against the government. At the same time, 2 other enemy fleets approach, and Simon defeats them again, this time without the damage to the city. Once Simon arrives at the town hall, Rocio greets him and tells him that he's under arrest. Simon is arrested and put on trial for his crimes. Rocio's plan to save humanity is to put people in shelters underground. He also plans to take refuge in space with Gurren, a spaceship to protect the population from the coming catastrophe. Simon's trials begin, and Rocio says the best way to calm the town is to execute Simon. Everyone accepts, but several enemies appear near Kamina City before making any verdict final. Rocio allows Simon to use Gurren Lagann on the condition the robot carries a bomb in case Simon wants to escape. Simon heads towards the Mugan troop, a codename for the enemy ships, and defeats them before they wreck the city. Although he's immobilized, there's still 1 Mugan left. However, the Kamina City army arrives to destroy him, minimalizing the blast damage with a new technology that Liron invented. At the end of the mission, Simon is forced to hand over Lagann's key and is taken to prison while he waits for his death sentence. Simon meets Viral, who's in jail too, and they argue for a while. Eventually, Liron discovers what will happen to the Earth once the moon collides. It turns out the planet will be uninhabitable for an indefinite time. That's why Rocio decides to save only some people with Gurren. Kitan finds out about this, and although he turns against Rocio, he can't do anything as there's no other option. Kitan goes to the hospital to tell his sister and Dayaka to evacuate as soon as possible, but an entire army of Mugans appear to end humanity. Kitan helps evacuate the hospital and decides to fight to buy time. Rocio arranges to advance the release date of the Gurren to the same day since there's no more time to lose. This decision means leaving many people behind, but Rocio is stubborn about this decision. Meanwhile, the Gurren Brigade stays behind to defend the people left behind on the land. In jail, Nia visits Simon and Viral and tells Simon the truth about the crash when Yoko suddenly shows up to shoot Nia. The Gurren manages to enter the space without knowing that it's a trap, and the anti-Spiral troops are waiting for them to attack. After the invasion of the Mugans, Rocio contacted Yoko to get her into the Gurren as she was a valuable person. A year ago, Yoko dedicated herself to being an elementary school teacher, orienting what she learned from Kamina and Simon, so Rocio's invitation didn't matter to her, and she left to look for Simon to stop the anti-Spiral. Yoko arrives at the jail not only to attack Nia, but also to free Simon. Simon rejoins the other members of the Gurren Brigade to stop the anti-Spirals and goes with Viral to pilot the Gurren Lagann to defend his planet. Simon and his team go into space to defend the Gurren. This fight has them facing giant Mugans that trap both Gurren Lagann and Lagann in an electric cage. However, Simon manages to free himself with his spiral power to combine himself with the Gurren to create the Gurren Lagann and defeat the enemies. Although they defeated the enemies, the moon continued to descend to Earth. The heroes try to stop it with their Gunmen, but are unsuccessful. However, the Spiral King, the source of the Arc Gurren's power, tells them that the moon is one of his secret bases. This revelation means it's also a Gunmen that runs on spiral energy, so Simon can stop it using the Gurren Lagann's drill. Simon goes towards the center of the moon to control it while his team makes time to stop the descent. As Simon tries to introduce the drill, he meets Nia, who stops him. But after talking to Simon, she moves out of the way and lets Simon join the moon. The moon transforms into a space fleet, and Simon controls it to put it back into orbit and save the world. When the heroes solve the moon threat, they return to Earth to plan a new attack against the anti-spiral. However, they must locate them first, and to their luck, they can do this with a ring that Simon gave Nia that also has spiral energy. While the Gurren Brigade is preparing for battle, Rocio travels to his hometown with a mission to end his life. He returns to his old village and reunites with Magan to talk for a while. Rocio tells him that he's going into the cave to inspect. Although Magan wants to escort him, he denies, saying it might be dangerous. Meanwhile, in Kamina City, Keenan grasps Rocio's intentions and tells Simon to find him. When looking for Rocio, they make a mistake following the wrong ship, although Keenan suggests going to his home village. However, they didn't have enough time, so Simon opened an interdimensional portal with spiral power to get Rocio and save him. After motivating him to fight alongside them, they all return to Kamina City to prepare for the final battle. The heroes are in their new ship, which can teleport to Nia's location thanks to Simon's spiral power, the Super Galaxy Gurren. Once they locate Nia, the group jumps into hyperspace and finds a hologram of Nia tortured by the anti-spirals. As the signal from the hologram is interfering with Nia's location, the group must defeat the enemies to reach the actual Nia. Anti-spiral troops emerge from the skies and begin to attack. Simon and Viral fight together, but to no avail, as Simon's drill can't pierce the anti-spiral's main fleet. Then, Simon decides to fuse with the Super Galaxy Gurren to get more power. When Simon returns to the ship, the other members take the order to withdraw. On the other hand, the enemies become deadlier, even destroying several members of the Gurren Brigade. Once Simon is ready for the fusion, a mysterious force pulls the Super Galaxy Gurren into depths of an ocean-like space. The Super Galaxy Gurren gets dragged through this space into the depths for the pressure to finish them off. For his part, Simon is forcing his body to generate spiral energy and get out of the ocean. However, they can't get out as Simon cannot generate enough power. The anti-spiral troops attack the spaceship to sink it faster, but Catan and Yoko come out in two Gunmens that move by electricity to stop the enemies and give Simon time to continue charging himself with spiral energy. To escape the ocean, Liron creates a plan to destroy the energy source that held the space itself. However, this was a suicide mission because the energy core was too deep. Despite this, none of the ship's crew hesitates, and they get to work. The base gets closer to the core thanks to Simon's spiral energy, although they can't destroy the defense barrier, so Catan sacrifices himself and rides his Gunmen to blast the energy source once and for all. Once they destroy the core, the surrounding ocean transforms into spiral energy that boosts Simon, and the new Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann emerges. One of the anti-spiral troops explains to Simon the danger posed by the spiral power, but Simon ignores them and attacks them with all of his might. When Simon kills the main ship, Nia's false signal stops broadcasting, and he manages to see the actual Nia. However, at that moment, the heroes are caught by the anti-spiral. The anti-spiral is the entity in charge of eliminating the spiral power to have a balance in the universe. He's a being with the power of a god, trapping the heroes in an alternate reality within their memories and leaving to finish off Nia. In Simon's memories, he's happy with Kamina until he comes across a box filled with spiral energy. Then, the real Kamina appears and encourages his friend to get out of the illusion and go in search of Nia. Simon comes out of his memories looking for all of his friends and teleporting through Nia's ring to where the anti-spiral is. The heroes arrive at the anti-spiral planet for the final battle. Simon manages to concentrate all the spiral power to the universe into the ultimate Gunmen, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. The weapon is all robots, the Gurren Brigade power, and the spiral energy combined. Early on, the battle against Anti-Spiral was pretty balanced in power. However, as time passed, Anti-Spiral grew stronger, using galaxies to attack Simon and the others. When the heroes are about to lose, the Spiral King sacrifices himself to become pure spiral energy, bestowing it on Simon. With all of his powers combined, Simon launches a final attack with Lagann and his drills, hitting Anti-Spiral and defeating him. Humanity was safe, and the group of heroes could be at peace. Simon marries Nia, who disappears after the wedding since she's part of the anti-spiral. In the future, each of the heroes finally live their lives in peace. And that was heaven-piercing Gurren Lagann Season Number 1 recap. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to hit that sub, click the like button, and comment down below to let me know what you think of the series. I'll see you on the next video.